Wait.
There's no music on my end. Hello, mic check, mic check. There, all right, there's no music on my end. All right, can you hear me?
Yeah. I can hear you. Yeah.
Okay, there was no music, but
Oh man, what? Oh, all right.
all right,
I'll fix it post. I'll fix it post anyway. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Always fix it post anyway.
yeah,
I just know when I just gotta look at to see what the time period, you know what I'm saying, and to cut it from there. You
yeah.
dig? But yeah, man, you know what I'm saying? This, you know what I'm
Oh
saying, podcast, man. You know what I'm saying? Where we talk about black cultural issues, uh, things that happen, you dig? And we talk about them positively, you know what I'm saying? The thing that has captured the internet, particularly black internet, black Twitter, black social spaces, is the brawl in Montgomery, man. The thriller in Montgomery. What happened in Montgomery, man? It has created a lot of commentary, a lot of memes. You know what I'm saying? Shows some solidarity. You know what I'm saying? And of course, opponents as always. You feel?
yes, sir.
Yeah. What's going on, bro?
Man, nothing much, man. Nothing much. Just enjoying, everything that kind of, that was the best thing of the week. To watch it. It was funny. It was um angering. It was sad. It was America.
Hmm.
So that's the feeling of this week.
Yeah, man. Yeah. I think the significance of it all. Oh shoot, I gotta go grab something. But yeah, man, the significance of it all, you know what I'm saying? The part that I think it just captures, just we just trying to do our job sometimes.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
We just trying to do our job, and and it's privilege that comes through that say that, oh, you can't just do your job. You know what I mean? You have to placate, you have to make room for how I feel or what, you know what I'm saying? Hey, you gotta make room for my boat. My boat gotta stay here. My little tiny boat gotta you gotta make room for my little tiny boat, even though you got a big boat. You know what I'm saying? I think it's just emblematic of uh racism and race issues in America. You know what I'm saying? And the size of the boats. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? Uh, I think that was the prevalent part, and I think that's why it kind of struck a chord. You know what I mean? To where people had to say that they had to take sides. You know what I'm saying? And of course, you had to. Of course, prior to that, we had the issue with Jason Aldean talking
yeah.
about try that in a small town. Well, they tried it in a small town.
It didn't work out.
Well, Montgomery's not a small town, but anyway. But yeah, they just
We
so
got a
happened
small
to,
town feel.
yeah, it got small town feel, and they could, and the thing about Montgomery, I think during that, I was talking with somebody, and they said that there was you know, pretty much a black celebration going on at that time. You know what I'm saying? That's why you had so many people in the boat. You know.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
hmm
It was a ancestor celebration. Where they you know a moment of silence for the ancestors who passed
hmm
through. Um,
hmm
they throw flowers in the water, um, and it was a celebration. It was a joyous day, man, and it was hundreds of people that was
Yeah,
on
yeah,
that boat.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, man. So, what's your thoughts on it, man?
So my thoughts was, um one is it was typical America, right? In the greatest fashion, where um privilege overruled the duties of just surviving or enjoying equally in this country. It it was one of those moments that, if you just in tune to your blackness, um to just the plight, the struggles, the fights, um in this country, it was one of those moments where you can look at it and seeing unity. You've seen a common, um I don't want to use the word enemy, but a
Yeah.
common adversary, um
Hmm.
that tried to use their privilege over just people just trying to enjoy their lives.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much, man. I saw it as, yeah, I saw it in the same way, man. Like, like, man, we can't, simply existing sometime in this country can be uh it can be, I don't want to say problematic, but the simply, yeah, just simply existing.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, like, no, we always like accommodating, you know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Like, hey man, like, he was a co-captain, by the way. I didn't know that.
Not a
You know what
security
I'm saying?
guard, right?
Yeah, he was not a security guard, you know what I'm saying? But he was a co-captain of that boat, you know what I'm saying? And he's just trying to simply just do his job. And you think that the human thing, you know what I'm saying, to do is like, oh man, well, I'm gonna respect you for doing your job. All right, I'm gonna move my boat and this and that and the third. And apparently they've had issues with this family before, you know what I'm saying? So again, a lot of that was boiled up, you know what I'm saying? And then the significance of the area, right there at the docks, you know what I'm saying, was where the Montgomery, excuse me, the Montgomery slave trade, happened right there in the waters right there, you know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
One of the biggest areas where peoples of African descent would get you sold,
Yeah.
into enslavement, you know what I'm saying? And I had to run out, forgot it. Slavery in America, the Montgomery slave trade. You can get this at eji.org. It talks about the Montgomery slave trade, but really it talks about how the what's it called, the domesticated American slave trade was going
Mhm.
on in America too. Alabama and Montgomery goes from one of those places where they had like 18,000 enslaved people to about 400,000
Like,
enslaved peoples, you know what I'm saying? And so what happens, for folks who use an expression, selling somebody up or down a river, you know what I'm saying? Well, that expression comes from selling peoples of African descent up and down, the
the
Mississippi.
Mississippi. Mhm.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, exactly. You know what I'm saying? And so, you know, um, so that area had some significance, and I'm pretty sure there was some tension in a city like Montgomery that has over 60% black people to almost 40 percent white and other, you know what I'm saying? So, and they just elected their first black mayor,
Yeah.
and it also is a state where there's another African American who was elected to office. Right
Mhm.
now, he can't take a seat in the office because the white supremacist who lost is not removing themselves from the seat. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, Alabama has a very racial tension and history to it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I think that through all of that, black people's anywheres and everywheres um, felt that. You know what I mean? Whether they didn't have to be there. They just looking at it through their phones or computer screens. and they understand, you know what I'm saying, what's going on in that moment. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Look, man, that's why I got on a white beater today. You know, because I'm ready. I was actually Gary run down there. That's how I felt. Because man, it just at a point of time, man. I was talking to the lady security guard at my job, and she was talking about it, and I I kind of you know the conversation that we had was more or less about the problem in this country is there are nice white people,
Hmm.
and then there are some that are in between that you know still will nod their heads at white supremacy,
Right, right, right.
and be okay with white supremacy. But the problem is, it's a lot more than what we think it is.
Hmm.
That's okay with that, and it shows up every election, every process that black people are asking the country to step up and do something, even though everyone will benefit from
Hmm.
what black people are asking for.
Hmm.
And we done had this conversation numerous of times on this podcast, and you know she really had to think about what I was saying. I was just saying, look, man, it's the greatest problem, and until white people really sit back and deal with that they are standing next to a person that is carrying a Confederate flag
Hmm.
and that is spewing hate somewhere in the world,
Hmm.
whether it's against LGBTQ, whether it's against black people, immigrants,
Hmm.
and until they deal with why would you stand next to that person,
Yeah.
it it's just one of those things that until they actually don't want to use the word, but man, they gotta become woke. They gotta wake up
Yeah,
because
man.
they're gonna lose.
Hmm. Yeah, man. Because at the end of the day, I don't think they understand how racism affects them. You know what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, sometimes I mean it don't because of the economics. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
The economics says that they can, live in a trailer and still have more wealth than a black person that has a college degree, and own a home and so on and so forth. And they don't understand the ramifications of, discriminated against a group of people and you live in close proximity to them.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
You depend on these group of people like this family at the
Hmm.
at the docks who depending upon black people to visit their store. You know what I'm saying? Um, and you feel the need. Look, I understand. You know what I'm saying? That young man that attacked security guard. Has some liquid courage. However, that liquid courage allowed him to act out. His beliefs. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? His beliefs and his privilege to say that, hey, I got a privilege, I got a right to attack you.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Even though, you know what I mean, like, hey, instead of accommodating, you know what I mean? Oh, just let me move my boat. Oh no, I'm not gonna move my boat. What you're gonna do is you're gonna allow me to stay here. That's what you're gonna do. And if you're threatening or whatever, then I'm gonna attack you. You know what I'm saying? And I think that, you know, within that, there is a history in this country that says that, white violence is normal. You
Hmm.
know what I'm saying? So, in recent history, we saw where January 6th, there are people who think that that was normal.
Yeah.
And you trying to explain to people like that, no, that's not normal in a democracy. You can't call yourself a democracy if you think that that is normal. You should be against that. You know what I'm saying? And of course, the former president is going up and, then got arraigned for the third time, you know, but yet he's leading in the polls as a leading candidate. You know
Hmm.
what I'm saying? It all encapsulate, one things that, the things that we talk about on this platform is that, racism, you know, racism and what it is and all of its forms,
Yeah.
you know. Uh, but yeah, bro. Yeah, yeah,
No,
yeah.
no, yeah. Again, man, when you bring it back to um one of the roots of the tree, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, it ain't the branch; it's one of the roots.
Yeah.
It
Mm-hmm.
is what Trump is doing is literally the root of it all. When you're talking about putting the historical context
Mm-hmm.
on on this country, um, his first ad that he ran was was literally attacking what, three black people
Yeah.
and Joe Biden,
Yeah.
and he said the black woman was having an affair, sleeping around with a gangster.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, in a flat out lie,
Mm-hmm.
just a flat out lie that people can literally look the story up. Um, that that was a client of hers,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and you know, threatening the judge.
Mm-hmm.
These are the things that if you truly want a democracy, bro, like, people got to understand. No matter on if we disagree, like, we can disagree all day long,
Mm-hmm.
but just like we had the conversation on our Facebook page, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's about disagreeing on the substance,
Right, right, right. On
the-
the issues.
on the issues,
Mhm,
the
mhm.
policies.
The
Like,
policies and stuff like that. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, that's what it's
Mhm,
about. But once you start getting into, oh, the you know you're a Marxist, and you're eating babies, and LGBT or pedophiles, and once
yeah,
you get
yeah.
in that to that realm,
Yeah, yeah,
you
yeah.
you are no longer talking about policy. What you're doing is stoking hate.
That's it. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Spreading misinformation, you know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? And yeah, yeah, you just spread misinformation at that point, man, because you have no other arguments because at the end of the day, what you're trying to do is you're trying to bring other people into your ignorance, right?
yeah,
You know what I'm saying? That's really what it is. You know what I'm saying? Um, and uh, with this incident that happened in Montgomery, and black people sharing memes and creating
hmm,
shirts and all this other stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like, hey, man, look. At the end of the day, it's entertainment. You
yeah,
know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, it was something that went viral, and we live in a time where going viral is entertainment. You know what I'm saying? However, there is a social aspect to this. You know what I'm saying?
mhm,
To where, like you said, black people are tired, man. We're
yeah,
tired. You know what I
yeah,
mean? And it shows up in different forms, you know what I'm saying?
hmm,
And the worst thing that I don't, the worst thing that I don't like seeing or I get tired of seeing it is black folk who feel like they got to come to the defense of, you know what I'm saying? Like, oh, well, you shouldn't be tired. You should allow that. You know what I'm saying?
yeah, yeah,
And I mean, it really is tiring. Like, yo, when are you gonna get tired? You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
You go ahead, bro.
Well, it's the same conversation that one we always had in our community, right?
Hmm.
That it's always a group that you know. Well, put it like this. This at a point of time, you know, like the elders used to tell the kids, put your head down.
Hmm.
Don't say nothing.
Right,
Just
exactly.
keep walking,
Exactly.
and it's the same mentality.
Hmm.
Is
Hmm.
really the same mentality from the same people that they don't want to fight. They
Hmm.
they just want to get along, but they have no clue that they are the assimilationists that
Right, exactly.
Martin Luther King, they were talking about, Malcolm X were talking about, that at the end of the day, you will never show up to fight. You will never ever show up for the fight for your own
Hmm.
people.
Hmm.
And this isn't about violence, man.
Hmm.
It's really more or less about, at the end of the day, they're using group power
Mhm.
to control the country, and it's not in a benefit because poor whites suffer
Mhm.
a
Mhm.
great deal of them. But the problem with poor whites, they believe that they're going to also be a part of the middle class one day or be rich just like everyone else living in a poor community.
Mhm.
And these are the complexities that
Hey, what's up,
that
bro? Can you hear me?
Hello?
Oh, hello, hello. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can
Okay.
hear you.
Oh, okay. What's up, bro? You, you
Wait,
trying?
you got
am I on?
you got to go on mute.
Oh,
Can
hold
you
on.
hear me?
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, but these are the complexities that we suffer in this country. But it all lead to things like you know losing pension, um um Americans now paying more in healthcare, um you know the wages going down because we have less unions. um all of that kind of racism and alignment with racism leads to one place,
Mhm.
and we will all lose something. And this is
Yeah,
this is how it happens.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Mhm. Hello. Hey, bro.
Yeah,
Hey, brother
yeah.
Herm. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right. Let me see if we can see how I get you on this. Hold on, man. I am tripping right now.
All right.
It sound
All right, bro. Can
Yeah,
you hear me?
yeah.
Oh. All right. Go ahead,
Hello.
bro. Oh man.
Oh, yeah. Well,
Hold on. I'm sorry. Go ahead, bro. I'm sorry. I'm trying to figure this out. Hey, Herm, can you hear me? Oh man. Hold on, man. I'm trying to figure this out here.
mhm.
Oh crap. All right. Oh
Uh-oh.
man. Hold on. Yeah, I'm trying to figure this out, man.
Well, while you figure it out, man, I'm gonna check
Mm-hmm.
my Amazon cart and make sure my chairs are coming in, and because that was the funniest meme that of the week. Everybody was kind of going in on the chairs, but at the end of the day, man, there was some serious parts in the whole brawl in Montgomery that we really should talk about as a community, um, because we lost too many amongst our group, and um, you know from people that are in our group and also not from the black community. The Mike Browns and Trayvon Martins and so forth. But we also cannot let gang violence go in our community. We just can't let it happen. And these were one of the moments that we all need to start having some solidarity in our community, because they will let this community rot from the inside. And again, if you didn't also see Clone and Tyrone, the plot is you can tear down the community and they'll come in and buy it for cheap, you know, and it's some other parts to it, but about assimilation and so forth. But at the end of the day, we really got to start trying to clean up our communities.
My man,
Ern.
John, man. I've been
Ern.
waiting for this moment, brother.
You've been waiting for this moment. Look, I wore a tank top for this one. I wore a white beater for this.
What's going on, man? How y'all
Man,
brothers
no,
doing,
on?
man?
Hey,
Man, we
man, we
doing all right.
doing good,
Hey.
brother, man. We appreciate you, man, coming on, bro.
Before I start, I want to say that I have the utmost respect for what you guys do with this podcast. And even though, you know what I'm saying, I don't always 100% agree with what y'all are talking about, I definitely have a respect for y'all's views. You know what I'm saying? The only thing that I like to do is push back just to offer another perspective, because I believe that we both want the same things, but I just look at it differently. So let's talk about this Montgomery Brawl.
Mhm.
Right? I heard my man John talked about he got some chairs on the way. Right? So, you know, I just don't want to be any confusion about the Montgomery Brawl, how I saw it, right? I saw some people who deserve to get their ass whooped. You know what I mean? Make no mistake about it. The only thing I didn't like is the lady getting hit in the head, because I just don't like watching women get hit by men. But what I want to talk about with you guys is, why do we feel like this is a step forward for Black people? You know what I mean? Or something to cheer for, like this is and the reason why I say it, because like I said in the page, is like, if we took this and built on it and said, you know what, you know, this is what unity looks like, you know what I'm saying? I'm with that. You know what I'm saying? Let's not turn around and jump on our own people and kill us. You know what I'm saying? I know crime is crime and everything, but if we want to say that is unity, we need to start telling our neighborhoods like, hey, look what happens when we stand together. We need to stop doing what we're doing right here. You know what I'm saying? If we preaching unity, but I never hear that. Y'all get what I'm saying? It's like we let the other stuff just go by without much noise, right? We see these drunk white people to get a much deserved ass whooping. You know what I'm saying? And with a 16, man, did you see that 16-year-old slam that man? The one that swam the channel? Can you imagine getting slammed by a 16-year-old like that and going viral? Oh my God.
Yeah,
Never.
he was
Never.
also a boatmate.
Yeah. I'm still not getting slammed by no 16-year-old like
that. Never.
But anyway, it's just like, you know, we see that, you know what I'm saying? And I ain't gonna lie to you, a lot of the memes and everything was funny to me too. You know what I mean? But when we say that it's a step forward for Black people, okay, well, how? Somebody tell me how it is.
Yeah, I was go ahead, bro.
No, go ahead.
Nah, yeah, I wouldn't say it was a step forward. I would say that, you know, Black people just found kind of enjoyment in it, you know what I'm saying? Because that's just what you know, I think a lot of it had to do with just Black people just finding entertainment for real. But at the same time, I think there is a unity aspect of it. You know what I'm saying? I think that Black people saw it for what it was. Black people saw it for, you know, for exactly like this comment is saying. You know what I'm saying? It was appropriate behavior for the action. You know what I'm saying? Like, look, look, if you're gonna throw hands, you know what I'm saying? Like, you gotta be ready. You know, there's a consequence to your actions. You know what I'm saying? And you gotta be ready for the action. More importantly, you gotta know where you at. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like your privilege cannot you know overstep or not understand where you at. You know what I'm saying? In that moment. You know what I mean?
It can't isolate you from this ass whipping.
Nah, it can't. You know, I ain't gonna lie. When I first saw it, even with the dude, when the dude got hit in the head, because the first thing I saw was the dude getting hit with the chair. And I thought it was two dudes that got hit with the chair. And I'm with all that, you know what I mean? Because they deserved every piece of the ass whooping they got. But how I looked at it was not, you know what I'm saying, Black people beating up white people. I looked at it as people retaliating, you know what I'm saying, showing like, look, don't try that in a small town. That's how I looked at it. You know what I mean? Like, that was a perfect example of the song. You know, like if you go out of line, if you get out of line, the community is going to put you back in line. And that's really how it should be everywhere. It didn't go too far. Nobody got killed. You know what I'm saying? Nobody got maimed real bad or anything like that. But
Mhm.
at the same time, let's keep that same energy and be like, okay, when we deal with each other, you know what I'm saying? Let's have that same unity mindset, that same respect for each other, instead of, you know what I'm saying, just condoning us killing each other. Like that's normal behavior.
So let me jump in here. So I get your point, and your point is right. But I think it does come with, where do you spend your time getting your information, right?
What you mean?
That
Go ahead.
because well, what I mean is, if you don't know about New Era in Detroit,
Mhm.
and what he's doing in his community, how can you sit back and say that? If you don't know
Right.
what they're doing in St. Louis, the members up there that's sitting here, they walk in the streets and every day in St. Louis. They trying to curb the violence and all of that other stuff. Same thing, people down in Atlanta. If you don't know that, maybe it's because of the
John.
spaces that you spend your time in. Well,
John.
hold on,
Go ahead.
and that it plays a part, because at the end of the day, to answer your question, people do have that same energy. People don't want to see violence in our community for the most part. Most black people show up to work every single day. They take care of their
Mhm.
kids. They do what
Mhm.
they're supposed to do. But a do we have 3% of our population that are committing violence? Yeah, we do. We do. But every community does. And the numbers are fluent across every last one of them. It is always 3 to 1% of every population. And I don't know how we are the ones that always have to carry that we are the most violent. That narrative is the dangerous part, because that's what put the spotlight over everything, where we can't even deal with real issues in our community, about the lack of jobs, about the gentrification, and from the history of not being able to get home loans. That, man, these are real issues. Bank of America just got fined twice for not giving people bank loans. Black people turning down 80% black people that was qualified. These are real issues, but we can't keep sweeping over it and then turning to, well, what about the violence in our community? Because all of those things are tied. All of those things are tied, because at the end of the day, we got more black people that are graduating college.
Mhm.
We got more black people that are moving up the economic ladder, moving in the
Yep.
suburbs.
Yep.
These are the things that we got to start uh, touting and talking about, and rejoicing, because
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you
because
more.
because at the end of the day, man, that gang shit, that shit ain't going nowhere. It ain't. No matter on if we like it or not, it ain't going nowhere. And it's in every culture.
Mhm.
But you got to understand, it all comes out of poverty.
True.
Yeah.
No matter on if you in Appalachia, no matter on if you in the in Murder Town, Wilmington.
Yeah.
That's what they call Wilmington.
Oh man, yeah,
Oh yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Murder. Yeah.
yeah,
Hey, hey.
it
Look,
go
man.
down there. If you
Look,
see,
look,
I,
look,
I've
look,
been
look,
to
look. We understand something, man. Look. In Clarksville, look in Clarksville, Tennessee, they got Kool-Aid water fountains over there. You know what I'm saying? We grew up in Wilmington. We ain't had that, dog.
hey man, hey
and
man,
that
We
and
ain't
that's
had that.
why Jay
Killington. That's what they call.
Jay
That's what they call it, man. Murder Town.
Jay. It's safe to say, man, this might be the first time we've agreed since our correspondence, because I agree with everything you just said. You know what I'm saying? But I think the way that I look at attacking what you just said is just different. You know what I mean? Because I feel like we've talked about before
Mhm,
that us three are living examples.
mhm.
And you keep saying you ask me why you keep just worrying about you. And it's not that
Yeah.
I worry just about me. It's just that I see walking examples like you just talked about, educated. You know what I'm saying? You know, people moving up the economic ladder. I see the same things that you see. You see what I'm saying? So it's like we do have these people in these places. You know what I'm saying? The people that's in the, and we have people that's in poverty, just like any other culture does, right? How do we get them out of that poverty mindset? You know what I mean? What
That's
do
the
we do?
question.
Yeah, what do we
Yeah,
do
that's the question.
if the government say, okay, the government is doing all the things you just said, right? Bank of America, all that. I'm not disagreeing with none of that. But what I will say is that I don't feel like it's enough to stop people from getting where they need to be. You know what I mean? If they had the right mindset to attack these things while also trying to work with the government and get these things more balanced out and more fair. You know what I'm saying? You can't, you know what I'm saying? I can't focus solely on this side of the house, this side of the problem, and not talk to my people and be like, look, I know shit is fucked up, messed up. I know it's messed up. But let me show you how I did it. You know what I'm saying? Like, let me show you what I did in order to get here. And I think that we have enough people, you know what I'm saying, that successful, at least middle class, to help folks, you know what I'm saying, to achieve that.
Yeah, man.
Yeah,
Shout
but
out to the user. I do want to say that, man, because they're right. Poverty isn't a mindset, man.
no,
Like that. That's my
poverty is driven by policy, man. Like
yeah.
we in
Yep.
America,
Right.
we yeah, like our policies choose poverty, right? Like, man, I'm trying to find my book. I think it was
But
somewhere.
Tay and Jay, y'all just both told me where y'all
hmm
came from.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Right? You know what I'm saying? That's what
hmm
I'm talking about. There's so many examples of people that came from nothing.
Yeah, yeah.
How did they do it? That's what I'm
Well,
saying. That's what I'm saying. It's like, yeah, I get it. You know what I'm saying?
mhm,
Poverty is you're right. There's policies and stuff, redlining everything that's happened to create these environments. I agree with that. But what I
mhm,
mean by poverty mindset is thinking that I gotta stay here. You know what I'm
mm,
saying? It's like there's no way for me to move up because all these things are against me. Well,
mhm,
that's not true because there's so many people, you know what I'm saying? And I'm not saying y'all are millionaires. You know what I'm
mhm.
saying? I'm not saying what you guys have done, you know what I'm saying, is something that is achievable for
Mm.
anybody to do. As long as
Well,
they have the right, you know what I'm saying? As long as you get to the people early enough to let them know, like, look, man, yeah, shit, this messed up here. You know what I'm
mhm,
saying?
mhm.
We live in Killington. That's a cute nickname. We
Yeah.
live in Killington. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There, you know, there's not much around here, you know what I'm saying, for you to become successful. But
It,
hey, check this out.
look,
What, Jay?
no,
Go
I
ahead,
was
Jeff.
going to say, man. Shout out to SVB, man. 7th Street, man. Look, man. Hey, look, because I'm gonna be honest with you. Like when I say like I was down, like I was down.
Right.
I'm saying like, and you are right when you're talking about um that. Yeah, I made it out, right? And when you're talking about the poverty mindset, yeah, I kind of understand what you're trying to say. I definitely do because I know the conversations that I have with my partners. You know what I'm saying, or my folk back home that they doing whatever, and like I come around and like they know what I used to do, but I ain't doing.
Right.
So
Absolutely.
now my conversation is different with them. So I'm talking to them, hey man, look, we can do this. You know what I'm saying? Like, how about we turn around and do this? And and they just like, man, if you don't go ahead with that, oh, here
Mm,
he go. So
mm,
I get what you're trying to say about the poverty mindset. Is when you are in a cycle, you can't see past the cycle. But somebody gave me a door.
mhm.
A white gentleman. Once I got a job, yeah, yeah.
I'm just
Once
messing
I
with
got
you,
once,
Jay.
yeah, like once I got the job, like a white gentleman, we became friends, and he was just like, "Hey, man, look, I'm going to make this move, and I'm gonna bring you with me, soon as I come back." And
snap.
Oh,
I'm about to
Dr.
get
Ham.
jumped in here, man. God
I mean,
dang,
to cut y'all off, but the line has stepped into the building.
Dr. Hammer now. I'm about to get jumped in here,
You
man.
done stepped into
He
the
got,
ring.
man, y'all got too many books around here, man. God dang.
I didn't mean to cut you off, bro. Man.
No,
Line
no,
has
you
stepped
good,
into the
man.
building.
Because that was just my story. That no, we do relate on a lot of information, but it's really on how that information comes out, right? And then how it aligns. Because being American, it will take you on different paths where you can either drive to a white supremacist narrative, or a narrative of assimilating, or you can operate inside of your group economics, and you know what I'm saying is basically like it's just hood shit.
Yeah. Go ahead, Doc.
Hey
Welcome,
guys,
Doc.
hey,
Welcome.
can you hear me?
Yeah, yes, sir.
I appreciate the invite.
Mhm.
You guys are having a really great a really needed conversation, because so often we hear talking points without solutions, and I'm not a fan of talking points. But I will say this: there's a myth in America called the exceptional Negro. Let me explain what that is. The exceptional Negro is the one who leaves the ghetto. They get out of their poverty because they're exceptional. They're not like the rest of these Negroes. The rest of these Negroes are welfare, unemployed, unmotivated, blah, blah. So now what the white supremacists can do is take that exceptional Negro, point him to the rest of the Negroes, and say, why can't you be like him? Now, let me tell you why that's fundamentally flawed, illogical, and damaging to our culture. Because the exceptional Negro, once he leaves, will be caught with the creature comforts of whiteness. The boys called it the talented 10th.
Talented 10th.
Well, he revised his doctrine of the talented 10th. And most people don't know that, because when you're a scholar and you get something wrong, you don't double down. You acknowledge that, hey, I didn't get it right. And what he said was this: that if the talented 10th of black people, the scholars, will be co-opted by the white power structure. He said that the white power structure would take that 10% of black people, come into our neighborhood, come into our communities, and now once I take that 10% out of there, now the ones who are smart enough, educated enough, can't bring that knowledge back to the hood because they are so enamored with the creature comforts that come with not being a regular Negro. And let me tell you why that is it's divisive, because one of the things is there is no exceptional Negroes. There's no such thing as an exceptional Negro, but there needs to be one. So I can now have an argument, and I can point to Jay-Z, LeBron James, Tyler Perry. I can point to this one individual like it ain't 44 million of us. Do you know how insulting it is to a population that's 44 million people in there to only know like 4 people who've been successful that you can name, to say, hey, look, I've given something back? But more importantly, the myth of the exceptional Negro started from this idea of conservation. You know, what I ask people is, what as a black man do you want to conserve here? As a black man, what here is worth salvaging? What do I want to conserve? Now, everybody answers that question differently. And to your point is this, and you know me, Tay, man. My first question is, when did you leave the plantation? Because there's this myth that we just all got up one day and said, we're done with the slave stuff. You have people who were living on the same plantation where their ancestors were enslaved at and sharecropped at in the 1970s.
Yeah.
Let me say it one more time. In the 1970s, you had black people in the South living on the same plot of land that their great-grandparents were enslaved on and their parents and grandparents sharecropped on. So you want to talk about a poverty mindset? Then let me tell you about this, man. Because poverty is created by policy. You know, and I would say, man, you know, when I talk to people, they don't understand. It's like, look, bro, what did they say?
Oh yeah. That's the book. That's the book that I was trying to get, but I ain't got. Yeah, when affirmative action was white, man. Like,
because we don't talk about the home. We don't talk about the Homestead Act that gave away millions of land to white settlers in Oklahoma, who's still there today, who were given free land. We don't talk about the Indian Removal Acts. We don't talk about that in the post. And the last thing I'll say about is this, because people are getting confused. People will get confused about this. What these people did to conquer this country, they will do to keep this country. Let me say that one more time. What they did to get this country, they will do to keep this country. And the only reason that most people don't see it is because, to your point, is they've been conditioned, they've been programmed, social learning, social engineering. They've been conditioned to turn the other cheek. And to your point about the guy who jumped in the water, I said, in order for there to be supremacy, you first need iconography. I need image. Because
imagery, man, and
Go ahead, Tay.
Yeah, I'm sorry, man, but imagery is important because that's you know what I mean, saying, you know, I'm let Brother Herm jump in here, but that's what we were talking about with Jason Aldean. You know, like the problem wasn't the song itself, wasn't the words, it was the imagery. The imagery was the issue, and imagery is very powerful. Because we understood this with the Birth of a Nation. Once Birth of a Nation was created, it like changed how people saw or marketed, or, you know, marketed violence, number one, towards Black people, because you saw a rise of the KKK again. You know what I mean? Rise of the KKK and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, my question, you know, to the panel, folks, man, and let me say this, man, I appreciate us all coming together, man. I appreciate y'all coming together last minute, man. But you know, is that I think one of the things that hasn't got discussed is that, you know, solidarity versus unity. You know what I'm saying? What does that look like? You know what I'm saying? And are we missing something here? Are we missing an opportunity? You know what I'm saying? To say, hey, look, although we don't agree, you know what I mean? People, we don't know what these folks' ideology was. However, they unified based on one issue. So solidarity versus unity. You know what I'm saying? What does that look like? You know what I'm saying? Go ahead, Brother Herm.
Man, I definitely, like you just said, that the people, if you're talking about the people on the boat, right? That they came together for that one issue. And I think it should always be like that, you know what I'm saying, especially economically. You know what I mean? I take cues from other folks. That's how they accumulate wealth in the community, is keep money within the community. So I don't know what the difference between solidarity and unity. You know, they sound the same to me. But I want to jump back to what the doc was talking about a little bit, if I may.
Yeah.
When you talked about the exceptional Negro, right? This is definitely something I talked about on y'all's page a lot. You know what I'm saying? Like calling people the exception. I think I'm on the same page. When I don't agree with that. You know what I'm saying? When I talk about these issues and somebody tells me that I'm an exception, I'm like, why? Because I joined the military? I didn't do anything extraordinary, you know what I'm saying, to live the life that I live. You know what I mean? Y'all two was in the military as well. I mean, and built on top of that. And there's a lot of people that's examples, you know what I'm saying? Jay didn't do anything that I would call extraordinary, you know what I'm saying, to be where they are. Everything is attainable is what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying? So when you talk about calling people the exception, you know, I think that is detrimental, because it feels like, you know, hey, I did this, I'm up here, but you can't do this because, you know, I'm the exception. You know, I don't feel that word.
No, I get what your point is, right? But I think what the panel is what we're all really talking about is we're talking about the myth of exceptionalism.
Yeah.
It's just a myth. It doesn't
agree
exist.
With that. No, I agree with that. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I agree with it.
But if I go in a neighborhood, and you know, Joy Reid was talking about this, right? That they showed up to her school, just some rich people that was looking for a good student at 14. She was 14 years old. And they sat back and said, she's getting good grades. We would like to help her get into Harvard. That is creating the exceptional Negro. These are the things that happen in our community without us even understanding it. They're just being plucked out of our community. Now, at the moment, what you will see is then they may turn into a Tim Scott, or they may turn into the mayor down in Montgomery, who's looking to just get money and raise money from white constituents and saying forget the black people. These are the people that buy into the exceptional Negro myth.
Yeah. Go ahead, Doc.
But his point was valid when he talked about this. It wasn't built for us. So when we talk about power, we're talking about the ability to define reality and to have other people accept your definition as their own. So let me talk about this from a perspective of internalized oppression. Okay. So what Black people have done in this country primarily is we have internalized the issues that we have as being constructed for us to solve. So for example, I didn't make a problem. Why am I responsible for solving it? I didn't make poverty. I didn't create the Federal Reserve Bank so I could give my money to bail out my friends and control the currency. I didn't create law that made it illegal for Black people to have dignity. I didn't do all that. But I internalized it as to say that as a second-class citizen in this country, that's what you get in a caste system. And this is where I think most people are confused. America is a caste system.
Yeah.
That is based off of race and social economics. Now, what people like to do is they only want to talk about the caste system that's based on the social economic part of it. They don't want to talk about the caste system that's based on the color of your skin. Because no matter what you do, no matter how much money you make, you can't change your skin color unless you try to do some micro stuff. But then we still know.
Sammy Sosa did it.
Yeah. Oh, well, but this is part of
Patrick Star out here.
But this is part of what we're dealing with is how the part of what we're dealing with is it's what we do individually to deal with internalized issues. If somebody bleaches their skin to deal with an issue that they have, then that's fine. But I'm not sitting up here saying that everything that we've created here was designed out of what trash you gave me. Like you gave me pig guts, I made a delicacy. I made chitlins. You gave me a pig, and I made a pig foot stew. And so everything they've done to us to destroy us, we've always overcome it. And what we don't talk about is the white backlash that's going to come from that issue in Montgomery. Because so let me tell you about white backlash. White rage is real. Anytime there has been Black progress in this country, there has been white rage to match it. And there will be white rage. And it may not be with those people, but you have people out there, they're mad that Black people are happy about something. That's all it takes. Black people are happy, they mad. They upset that we got joy out of watching internalized oppression be directed in a way that was constructive, productive, and more importantly, appropriate behavior. The number one issue is inappropriate behavior. Yes, bruh. You know, bruh. I got it. Oh, somewhere in there? It's somewhere there. Hey, but when we talk about that, about the backlash, what we're seeing happening is that there are people who never understood what happens to suppression and when you back up issues for so long. When you repress things for so long, it's like a volcano. It's like a volcano. And that when that volcano erupts, of course, there's going to be devastation and damage. Now, what we tend to only see the volcano, the lava, and the ash. What we don't see is the tectonic plates that are shifting under the earth. We don't see the magma chamber being opened. All we see is the destruction. And that's a very poor scholarship. It's very poor scholarship to look at an issue and only judge it by the outcome and not the result. What caused it? And let me tell you this. Unfortunately, in this country, there has been an inheritance. So you inherit white supremacy. It's a birthright. You just get it because you're born. It's a birthright. You are white. Here's your, it's like, this is your heritage, this is your legacy. It's what I'm giving to you. And when you start to look at how that intersects, is that the idea, and I was telling this guy the other day, I said, it's 2023. And we're still debating what we should teach the children of enslaved people in America. Now that does two things. It lets me know that the people who want to do it haven't learned anything. Think about that. They don't have to learn anything. When you are the supreme race or supreme people who are the majority, you don't have to learn anything. You don't have to learn about Black people and their culture, their concerns, their problems. You don't have to. More importantly, the reason you don't, because it goes back to my previous point, the same thing that they did to get this country, they will do to keep this country. And we are seeing a combination of two very dangerous factions. I tell everybody, once you mix economic downturn with fear that white people will be replaced in this country, you will see violence in this country that nobody in our grandparents' time has even witnessed. No, even witnessed it. There's no concept for it because they didn't learn anything. So we've been learning. We've been learning about ourselves, about our system, but they haven't been learning because the schools ain't gonna teach them. They can't even teach Black kids their history. You think they're telling them what's going on with us? And that's dangerous when you don't understand what you're getting into, because you may know how to fight, but more importantly, you need to know when to fight.
So,
Brother Herm, I'm sorry, Doc, Brother Herm.
So what is the answer to all of that? You know what I mean? Like how do we move forward? You know what I mean? When we're talking about helping the people, because that's where my mind is always at. You know what I mean? Like, how do we get the people to move forward in today's society? You know, we got all this knowledge about why it's like that. How do you suggest that we move forward with that information?
Well, you start with the truth first. See,
that's where you start.
See, the reason that I think about it is this: time is not linear. That's a big misconception. Time is not linear. We don't have past, present, future. That's not right. That's not how time is. Time is circular.
Circular, yeah.
Circular time. And so whether you think it or not, we are moving. We may not be moving in the direction that you want to go into, but we are moving. Because when that guy jumped off that boat, it was movement. That was movement. Because the difference between solidarity and unity is this. Unity requires me to be like a fist for you. Solidarity says I can be single from you, but when you need me, here I go. So I don't have to go to your club. I ain't got to be a part of your meeting, but like I put that post up there, Article 5 of the Negro Treaty. An attack on one of us is an attack on all of us. So once you attack my brother, then you attacking me. And that is a concept that has been foreign to us.
Right.
It's foreign to us, but it's coming to the surface. So to answer your question about how to go forward, we start with the truth. We've not been told it. We've not been told it. Not only is it hidden, it's been distorted. And when you distort the history of people, they will say dumb stuff like, I'm not my ancestors.
That's crazy.
You're not.
That was going to be my next. That was going to be my next question.
You wish you were them.
That was going to be my next question.
And I'm like, and I think about this because unfortunately, no one likes to be the bearer of bad news. No one likes to be the bearer of bad news. We always want to tell the good news. But I don't see a lot of good news. I don't, because I'm looking for what's not being shown. I look for what you don't tell me. I look in areas where I'm not supposed to know. Like the UN said, when it costs 40% of your income to feed yourself, there will be social unrest in your country. The UN said that. When it costs 40% of your disposable income to eat, we're approaching these numbers. We're approaching massive social unrest numbers. And America, unfortunately, has irreconcilable differences. We cannot, like your version of reality and my version of reality cannot coexist. And what happens when that happens? Conflict, war, aggression, and disease, famine, murder. That's history. That's what happens. When you have a country with people who are diametrically opposed, as we keep growing, that's why the most fringe, fanatical people always rise to the top, because the moderate, the one who is speaking sense, is the one who essentially, if he speaks sense, he gets no platform, because you got to speak to the masses that are wild. And I think that is hard to do and to understand that that's where we're going. And it may not be pleasant.
Yeah. And so Go ahead, brother. Go ahead.
Yeah, because I got to cut it short. I got to go eat. No, I
Oh,
just
yeah,
came.
yeah.
Yeah,
Go
I
ahead,
just
bro. I
came. Just
appreciate
came
you,
in.
brother.
Came
Appreciate
in
you, man.
from choir practice, Jay. You know what I'm saying? As a good
Yeah.
Christian man that I am. You know what I mean? Want to say thank y'all for allowing me to come in this conversation, and for those people that are on the
Thank
page,
you,
man, I got
brother.
nothing but love for Jay and Tay. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know, I just love to be able to speak my mind, even though we don't agree. But I can't sit here and say that I don't learn from you guys. You know what I mean? So I appreciate what you guys are doing on a daily basis. Y'all need to stop. Y'all need to stop blocking my stuff, Jay. You know what I mean?
It's not you. It's that other guy. It's that other guy, man. We got playing, man.
And me and Ronnie is not on the same team.
Yo,
Nah,
I'm out, man.
you say y'all on the same team.
No, man. I don't know that guy. I'm out, man.
All right, bro. Yeah, man. Yeah.
Well, long as Herm ain't hitting us with no memes, you know, we gotta let some stuff pass, you know. But
Yeah, man.
but
But you know, I do
yeah.
want to address that. I do want to talk about that because I think that's a refrain that came out of this whole Montgomery Brawl was that we are not our ancestors. And again, I think that, you know, as I always talk about, man, we gotta get away from certain language, right? We gotta stop saying generational curses, start saying generational trauma. You know what I'm saying? And one of those things is saying, you know what I mean? Like, we are not our ancestors. Yeah, of course, we aren't as strong as them. You know what I mean? Like, we are not as strong as them, man. Like, they went through a lot. If you are alive today, you survived a 3 or 2 month trip. You survived a trip from the Caribbean or South America to America, and you survived just whole racism, man. Like, you are the survivor of that. You know what I'm saying? And you don't understand that unless you go back and you read about Denmark Vesey, Nat Turner, you know, the Stono Rebellion, and everything in between. You know what I'm saying? The rape and the murder and the lynching and everything that happened. Yeah, no, absolutely, we are not our ancestors, man, because you know, in the conditions in which you're talking about, Dr. Ham, our ancestors would have turned this Joan upside down.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? They would have planned to turn this to look. We need to go do something. You know,
ASAP.
Well, that's because, you know, just like I was talking to my daughter about slave revolts, right?
Mhm.
I said it was well over 3,000 slave revolts,
Yeah.
and you know,
Good question.
we wasn't taught that.
Mhm.
Because if you understood that it was literally 3,000 plus slave revolts, close to 4,000, but you will understand that our ancestors always fought. They fought it from the time that they left to the time that they got here. They also fought when they seen them show up on the shores. And I think that's where we're lacking is just the information and that's where it comes from is just the ignorance of not knowing.
Yeah. No, agree, man. He said something that was you know, I think me and Tay, we were talking about ideology the other day for a
Mhm.
second, and I just want to say, man, that, you know, there are a lot of ways to skin a cat.
Mhm.
You know, like when it comes to getting something done, there's multiple ways, but ultimately we like to think that there's an optimal way. Like there's a best practice. Like, okay, let's see. First thing we do is we look for historical parallels and then try to find out where did we go wrong. So I like to look at Haiti. I think Haiti is probably the best example to use.
Mhm.
Only because they came to some realizations that changed their ideology. Toussaint Overture was a Catholic, very devout Catholic. People don't know that about him. He was a Catholic man, very devout. But he just said that I don't believe that the guy I read in his Bible will let you treat me this way.
Mhm.
So he ideologically separated himself from the behavior of people that was not constructive to his freedom. And so we have not done that. We have accepted where we're at and then we've tried to make the best out of it. And I think that to our credit and also to sometimes to our shame, I find that when we're trying to talk to people about ideology, the reason that is so difficult is because I cannot suspend my beliefs and share them at the same time. I got to pick a mode. What mode am I in? And so often when our ideas are confronted with evidence or things to the contrary, people tend to retreat away from anything that's going to create mental unease for them. Like this idea that, oh man, enslaved people benefited from slavery. Okay, who does that help? Like who teaching that? What does that do? And so I'm often confronted with that question. So where do we go now? What is the path? And my thought is that we are on a train. The brakes have been severed.
Mm-hmm.
The engineer is down, and we're arguing about silliness.
Yeah.
Silliness. Like it's silly. And I'm thinking like we have to have more serious discussions about ideology.
Mm-hmm.
Because until I present you with a different way of doing things, you won't know any better. And unfortunately, the older we get, the harder it is to present new data, and we can be critical about it, because essentially we become set in our mental ways. We become set in this idea where it has to be this way because this is the way that it's always been. And then when we challenge the norms, we have to be careful that we don't deal with this idea of like imposter syndrome of like, who am I to challenge 2000 doctrine or the policies of this government? Because I tell you, if public policy made the problem, then public policy should fix it. If the problem is made by public policy, then public policy should fix it. I don't think that's radical. I don't think that's extreme.
That's the majority of our problems and our issues in this country. You know what I'm saying? It is policy.
Policy.
Like we were talking about, poverty is policy. You know what I'm saying? And we gotta fix it, man. But I do want to jump, man. I've been thinking. We did this podcast at the last minute. I want to thank Brother Herm. Thank you, Doc, for coming in at the last minute, man. But we busy fathers trying to take care of stuff, man. But appreciate everybody that's tuning in, man. Appreciate the questions. Appreciate you, Kately, for tuning in, brother. And one of these things that I'm gonna get to, we're gonna have a podcast on this, is about finances, not finances, economics, and how it relates to the Black community. You know what I'm saying? And one of those things, I just bought this book, The Myth and Propaganda of Black Buying Power, because a lot of times I think we don't talk about, we talk about, when it comes to Black people, we talk about and we don't have to spend too much on this, but I just wanted to touch on this because of this book not reading. But anyway, a lot of times when we talk about economics, we talk about it in how much and what we buy. We do not talk about economic strength, what we own, right?
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times we spend way too much time in myth. I don't want to say myth. We spend way too much time in the past, right? The most, usually when you talk about Black people, when Black people talk to you, they'll bring up Tulsa automatically. You know what I'm saying? Well, what about Tulsa? Well, okay, what was the economic strength of Tulsa? And you'll hear the dollar circulated, there were Black businesses. Okay, but what did the people own? What did the free market allow them to own? The free market did not allow them to trade outside of America. They had to trade with inside of America and things of that nature. You know what I'm saying? And so, financial freedom comes about. Number one, financial freedom cannot come with significant policy. I can't remember who said that, but I didn't make that up. Somebody said, I think it was MLK, when he's where do we go from here? Chaos or community. You cannot have finances without significant. I think that's what goes to what you're talking about, Dr. Ham, is you cannot have finances freedom without significant policy. You need both in order to have, and that's what we're talking about when you got books like When Affirmative Action Was White, The Color of Law. You know what I'm saying? Europeans that came to this country that bought land and was able to buy land, that was because of government and things of that nature. You know what I'm saying? So, financial freedom is very important, and we can get to that place. But however, we gotta have unity based on that. You know what I'm saying? And unfortunately, we're not at that point yet. But we got to get there, man, soon, because we have a opposition. If you ain't paying attention, you have a whole opposition. We talk about white supremacy, but right now, yes, Powernomics by
Powernomics.
yes, sir, by Dr. Claude Anderson. Yeah, man. We gotta come together based on economics right now. Like, if we don't agree on any issue, it is economics.
Yeah.
And understand that there is a whole political party that is trying to keep you from economics. They're trying to drain that from you. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? Go ahead, bro, and then I'll get back to you, Dr. M.
No, to touch on what you're saying, it is, yeah, they're literally putting in policy to make sure that they create a lower class.
Yeah.
And it's the same policies that they always had from the creation of this country. And if we don't start understanding just those basics, we are going to have a hard time, because we have election year coming up, right? Kate, I asked the question, why vote? Well, why vote is because you need people in place to put policy that is in favor of your community economically.
Yeah.
And not only that, you need the education policy, you need the environmental. It's all of these different things that you need, because the most polluted areas are in minority areas in America.
Yeah, we see it, man.
So I take this approach, and this is just my thought process, that nobody's coming to help us. Nobody's coming to save us. They're not coming to help. The government ain't gonna come down and say fix no problems. The reason I say Powernomics, because it's a national plan to empower Black America. Because when you start to talk about economics, you have to really be thinking that we were the economics at a time. we were the capital. We were
That's
it.
true.
We were the capital. And everything that they did with us, they do with capital today. The reason that we talk about economics, we got to understand what the Freedmen Bank was. People don't know about the Freedmen Bank. The bank that was established for newly freed Africans. They made a banking system called by the Freedmen Bureau. Now the bank went under because they were pretty much doing gambling with their bets and the deposits. And what happened was, when Black people went to go get out their money, which they didn't have, they have a lot of money, they couldn't get their money out. And nobody explained to them what had happened in a way that they could understand their money was gone.
Hey, Doc, I want to make a correlation real quick. I'm sorry, I'm interrupt you, but the same way the Freedmen Bank was supposed to help Black people, and people use Black people's money in order to gamble. You know what I'm saying? Same thing happened during the housing crisis, when Black people finally went over 60% of owning homes. Boom. They used that Black people's capital in order to, gamble.
And we're talking about billions of dollars that was gone. Billions, just like boom, all because some index went out. And when I think about the Freedmen Bureau, I think about the generational impacts of that. That's why Black people put their money in their mattress. That's where it started from. That's where it started hoarding our money from. We started putting that little stash money.
Yeah. The worst part of soul food, man. I always say this, man. I hate eating the soul food, because I'm like, like they sitting there celebrating. I'm like, oh my God, inflation done destroyed that money in the mattress.
And so
inflation killed that money.
But individuals, I think, are going to make actions that are going to be harder for the collective, because they don't have anything to lose in the transaction. Like we're in a transactional relationship with America.
Yeah.
That ultimately was only necessarily insofar as it was beneficial to them. But like I tell you, you could remove every white person from the earth tomorrow and you still have white supremacy.
That's true.
You would. You know why? Because we don't know nothing else.
Yeah.
We would just carry on what they did. We would just carry it on. And nothing structurally would change. And that's why I don't get into the whole black or white thing. I don't care. It's about power.
That's about power. Yeah, exactly.
Power.
Yeah.
And the only reason that black and white is an issue is because it keeps power in place. That's it. And so what I focus on is why I like Powernomics is because there are when you learn enough, you can make a prediction. Like if I study the stock market long enough, or study my job long enough, I can start to predict trends. I can predict, essentially like anomalies or stuff like that happens because this is what I study. My focus for my PhD is public policy. But the reason that I pick policy is because you have to be able to write a policy in a race neutral way in order for it to have the effects that you want it to have, and that the majority of the people are unaware of that policy until it becomes law.
Yeah.
And that's what we see happening, because you're not going to find a law that says, good example, there's a law called the Safe Policing Act, where cops are supposed to report the demographics of ticketing or policing, right? So in Connecticut, Connecticut or one of those states, it was just recently, they did an audit on the Connecticut police, and they were making up tickets to give to white people to offset the number they were giving to black people, because the per capita ratio of tickets to black people was astronomically high.
Yeah.
So once again, when you allow the individual at the ground level to make the policy, you're going to see that they're going to make it in their favor. But they won't write it in their favor because they are the enforcer. See, the maker of the law ain't really important. The enforcer of the law is important, because the enforcer of the law is more powerful than the president, because the president ain't gonna come put handcuffs on you.
Yeah.
He ain't gonna restrict your movement. He can order somebody to do it, but they don't have to. And I think that's where we're at today. I think we're at a point where we're experiencing how to operate and utilize power. Economic power is one of them. I would say that it's not the most, it's top 3, but I don't think it's number 1. I don't think it's number 1. I think that the number 1 issue is, if we were talking about it from a tactical perspective or strategic standpoint, I would say the number 1 issue is spiritual. If I had to say number 1, I would say economics is 2 or 3, because the amount of money that you have doesn't determine your worth or value.
Right.
Doesn't determine worth or value. And essentially what you find out is that when you start to talk about the structures of our system, we're not getting into what sustains it. The fact that, well, we need a prison industry complex that's that big because it sustains economies. And what are we going to do with these people in these podunk towns if they take away their prison? The second and third order effects of capitalism, meaning that if I can make a market for something, then I can make my own wealth. And I think that's what we're seeing. We haven't made markets. See, once you make like Fubu is a good example, right? Fubu was a market, right? For us, by us. Remember Fubu? And so once you have a market, because what else was for us and by us at the time when Fubu first came out? What do we have?
I don't know. Yeah,
and we own
Ichi.
No, I think Fubu, but my point is that at the time there was not a lot of issues or black things that were for us that made, this is my boom. I got the more African flag and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That's where we're getting to a point where we have to become market makers. I need to make the market because it don't exist. Like right now in this country, I would say a great market, just off the top of my head, is educating people about how uneducated they were. That's a market right there. That's a market, because there are a lot of issues that nobody climbs a ladder and then rebukes the ladder when they get to the top. No one gets to the top of the ladder, because if you rebuke the ladder, then you will delegitimize your own climb. Hence the idea of why I want to conserve this system. I want to conserve it because as a black person, not only did I have to work harder to get there, when I got there, I realized that this wasn't where I wanted to be. Because what we're finding is that there are not a lot of changes that has happened in this country apart from what black folks have accepted or allowed to happen. Because if you go back to every situation that involves black people, and primarily in law enforcement situations, what you're seeing happening is the things that the police did to black people, white people would have not allowed to happen to them. So I'm from Cleveland, Ohio. Stop and frisk started here. People don't know that.
Yeah, started in Ohio.
Terryville, Ohio. Started here.
Terryville, Ohio.
Terryville, Ohio. Started here in my city. Mattville, Ohio. Here. Exclusionary rule. Beckville, Ohio. Cleveland. This area is very, very saturated with policies that were created in a time when people didn't understand that the police weren't stopping and frisking white people.
Mm-hmm.
Had they stopped and frisked a white person, there would have been an outcry. There would have been, it'd been preposterous. And why did the population consent to this change that fundamentally altered the Fourth Amendment relationship to the citizenry? Is because they knew that the policy would not be enforced on them.
Mm-hmm.
And if I know that the policy won't be enforced on me, then I can make the policy as draconian as possible.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Well, hold on, Doc. I'm sorry. Let me make a connection here, because I think that, getting back to the Montgomery Brawl, I think that was, what we saw, right, is the essence of it. Like, like, I have a right to attack you because I don't expect the police to come for me.
yeah,
You know what I mean? I expect, if I attack you as a Black person doing your job, you know what I'm saying? That then everybody else. Yeah. Everybody's going to come out of the fence, and you see the Black dude coming in, he's trying to push people off and things of that nature. You know what I mean? And what you're getting at is really, I don't want to say the crux, but it has a underpinning, right? An underpinning of why a 16-year-old would jump off a boat and feel the need to swim, and you know what I mean, and gator infested waters, and be involved in that, because they, he grew up hearing the stories. He grew up hearing, what I mean, the police brutality. He grew up hearing the oral story. Majority of us grow up hearing oral stories. You know what I'm saying? I remember my dad telling me a story about him seeing a person being lynched. You know what I'm saying? He was born in 1957. You dig what I'm saying?
Oh yeah.
So yeah. But go ahead, bro.
It's just like the story of the gentleman with the chair, right?
Mm-hmm.
He finally spoke out, and here he is, a 60-year-old man who grew up in Montgomery, who's seen some things, and his first word was, "I'm sick and tired of them." He said, "We've been dealing with this for decades," and he said, "I blacked out because I seen my ancestors."
Oh Lord,
that right there was, it cut so deep that people miss what he was really conveying.
Yeah, exactly.
And he said when he got to that woman, he didn't see anything but his ancestors.
That's it. Because of the stories, because of the everything. I mean, those stories would span generations, right? If he's 60 years old, he would have knew his great grandfather, who was probably 80 or 90, telling him about how he was enslaved or part of the plantation, things of that nature. You know what I'm saying? So all of that comes about, and through the entertainment piece, we don't examine the why. Why would that happen? You know what I mean? Why would people, need to then, when the boat docked, hey, I gotta jump off. Y'all ain't skating off that easy. You know what I'm saying?
Because a lot of people don't want to talk about the psychological side, right?
Yeah.
Because that's way deep past the imagery. It's usually a why did a person react the way that they did in the moment that they have done something maybe heinous, because it's a history, it's a back history to that response.
Yeah, and speaking of the psychology, I think they were going to put racism in the DSM-5 in the 1960s.
Yep.
But they chose not to, because as a mental disorder. But there was like enough white folk who were like, no, it's way too many of them. You're gonna declare millions of people insane? Like, yes, yes. Racism is I mean, it honestly is. It's just an insanity disorder. Go ahead, Doc.
Oh, but to your point about the psychology, and this is what I didn't know. I didn't know how deep the problem was when I began researching. I didn't know how deep the well went, and it's deep. It's like, whew, it's like, how you drop a rock down a well, and you're waiting to hit the sound for it to hit the bottom.
Yeah.
Bro, we dropped the stone 400 years ago and it ain't at the bottom yet. Like,
That's fact.
this bug is falling. And I'm like, bro, and so I read the DSM, 5 psychological disorders. So it was actually the Black Association of Psychiatrists who wanted to propose the change. And the reason that's important is because why do I need American Black Psychological Association if there's an American Psychological Association? That seems redundant, right? Well, why don't you just join the world? Now they don't call themselves the White American Psychological Association for a reason. I mean, that's what they are, but they don't say that because they're concerned about they are concerned about Eurocentric issues, not African issues. Western psychology is based on European philosophers that don't involve Africans. We don't fit their models. For example, before 1908, there was no term schizophrenic. The term was diagnosed in 1908 as a psychological disorder, right? But do you know that people were exhibiting those symptoms long before 1908, right? Because when a child was sold from their mother on that plantation, that mother would sometimes lose their mind. And they would be talking to the child as if they were still there. That's why if you ever see somebody in a schizophrenic episode, they're having a conversation with somebody. And
Beloved, the movie Beloved.
Yeah, exactly.
Based on it.
They're having a conversation with somebody that's not there. And that's caused by trauma. And see, the problem with America is if you flash a light on the trauma, what you're going to see is two things. One is this: injustice breeds insanity. Injustice makes you lose your mind. Now they know that already. They already know this because they lost their minds on January 6th and in Wilmington, North Carolina, when the only successful white supremacists take over of a government in American history. So they prepared because of the new definition of power that I'm using as the ability to define your reality and have other people accept the definition as their own. I'm using that as a conceptual definition because this makes sense to me now. Because I am not under any illusion that things are going to get better. Now I can be idealistic, I can be hopeful, but I'm not disillusioned anymore because I know not only do I know their history, I know what they do to keep it hidden so they can keep doing their history. It's like I'm a recovering alcoholic, but I keep a bottle in the house for emergencies. That's what I think. That's how I look at it. Like I don't want to go crazy on you, but if I need to, I got a bottle in your back. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to drink because I turn into a moral monster. That's Baldwin, and that's why. Last thing I say about that is that no one that I've come across has understood the conditions of Black people in this country better than James Baldwin in real time. Because see, most people have to assess, analyze. He knew in real time what would happen. Him and Malcolm. Malcolm knew too.
Yeah.
The only reason I give Baldwin a nod over is because he had more literature. Malcolm had speeches and stuff like that. He didn't write a lot of books. You know what I'm saying? But Baldwin,
and we didn't get to experience the best version of Malcolm after he comes back from Mecca. You know what I'm saying? He was taken away from us. And
had we done see that Malcolm is like that's that fear of that Black Messiah they were worried about, the rise of the Black Messiah. See, because once you become the goal of education makes you education makes you fit for rebellion. The educating of people is always a revolutionary act.
That's what Frederick Douglass said when he's taught to learn how to read by his white mistress, and the husband gets upset because he's like, "Hey, you teach him how to read. He's no good to us anymore." Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Because once he learns how to read, that dude.
and to that point, I'm talking about state-sponsored education because we live in denial.
Yes, sir.
We live in denial.
It was way too dangerous.
Yeah, and as the denial is removed, what we're seeing happen is that there's a lot of that ancestors thing made me think of Claudette Colvin, who said the same thing.
Mhm.
She said the same thing he said about the ancestors. She said, I seen Harriet Tubman and Sojourner Truth daring me to get up.
Mm.
And ain't nothing more powerful than knowing that you got roots of people who resisted tyranny. Because once you know they resisted, then you can resist. And I think that, to me, and this is where we have different battlefields and different fronts. And one of the most important battlefields is the mind.
Mm-hmm.
Because keep the slave, break the mind.
Yeah.
And the struggle is eternal. Oh, hey. Perpetual.
Gloria Richardson.
And see,
I can't wait to read this. But go ahead.
And this is to your point. This is codification, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is codification of what is black man, what is your expected response when you see what you saw?
Mm-hmm.
Let me show you what is the acceptable behavior.
Right.
Because we've all seen the unacceptable behavior. You know, when they beat Rodney King and he said, "Can we all get along?" Unacceptable behavior. When Botham Jean was shot in his apartment watching TV by off-duty cop, and then they hugging the judge is hugging the murderer after the sentencing. Inappropriate behavior. Inappropriate behavior.
Marlon Wayans, his comment.
Oh yeah. Marlon was, come on, man.
What do you say?
He was out of pocket.
What do you say?
Marlon Wayans was condemning the response with violence. He didn't address the previous violence.
Which one? Which issue?
Talking
on
about
the boat.
on the boat.
So this is Marlon Wayans.
Yeah.
Marlon Wayans. Yeah.
So he said that he condemned what happened to
yes. Well, no, he condemned the how black people reacted to the whole scenario, because violence.
Did he give examples?
Away.
Did he give examples? Like what did he think we should have did?
He didn't give any examples, but
because this is very telling. Because if he feels that, like, I sent you that meme. See that meme I sent you about Farrakhan? See, because of this is a very instructive discussion, right? Because look at what white people are saying on social media about this issue. What has been the white response to this issue on social media?
Yeah.
What has it been?
The gentleman getting hit, hit the lady with the chair.
But the reason I say that is because most of them are being quiet.
Well,
now you gotta have a few to say something, but most of them are being quiet. You know why? Because that's called solidarity.
Yeah, right.
They know how to do solidarity as easy as that boy jumped into that water.
Man, I brought this up during the January 6th thing, right? I post something on my Facebook, and I'm like, all y'all that supported Trump, blah, 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 blah. And, of course, there were people like, well, I'm not at January 6th. I'm like, yeah, but you support, your silence is culpability. You know what I'm saying? Like you support it, man. You were loud and boisterous against Colin Kaepernick. You were loud and boisterous against Black Lives Matter. I was like, but now you quiet against Trump. You posted all this pro-Trump stuff. You know what I'm saying? Now you quiet because this man is, and they're gonna get Trump. They done drop so many federal charges on this dude. They're gonna get him on something. They're probably gonna get him on shouting fire in a crowded theater. But but again, just being silent, man, and for context on Marlon Wayans said, how about we not try that in a small town? Shit, silly, bro. Let's just be love, not war. And I think that there's a look, I don't want to be an ageist here, but there's just a generation of us who
boom.
Yeah. There's just a generation of us who look at white violence as normal. You know what I'm saying? And the response is abnormal. It's an abnormal response. Yeah. Black Lives Matter is abnormal to what happened.
And this is interesting when you talk about, let's say I'm in an interracial relationship, marriage, relationship, whatever, right? Black, white. I'm celebrating what happened. Can I celebrate in my house?
Yeah.
Can I celebrate in my house? I got to go outside.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I think that there's a tendency, and this is okay, man. I gotta read something, man. I don't usually read,
Yeah.
but I gotta read something. I'm just gonna paraphrase it because I don't want to mess it up.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We have been, this is part of it. We have been conditioned to view the world through the lens of whiteness. When we're reading, we automatically envision the characters as being white. When we see something, we automatically appear them to be white. And this does two things for us. It puts into
Toni
our
Morrison.
minds.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, you know, okay, boom. You know about that. I love Tony. I was gonna read the quote directly. I'm just gonna paraphrase.
I get what you're saying. Yeah.
I don't know. I don't like to, you know, plagiarize people.
Yeah.
But
white gaze.
white gaze, the white gaze.
Mm-hmm.
And so we as Black people are used to viewing the world with a white gaze.
Yeah.
And that white gaze makes us, like, if we would have condemned what happened as Black people in Montgomery, if we would have condemned it, what message would that have sent to the next time it happens? What message would it send if we condemned them for protecting themselves?
Right. Yeah. Instead of Jews will not replace us, they'll be tiki torches. Blacks will not replace us.
And so let me explain what and Charlottesville was not just a turning point. Charlottesville was a declaration because they wasn't covering their faces.
Exactly.
And when you don't cover your face, you're not concerned about how you look. And so we have to understand that they're gearing up. They're gearing up. That's why they're making arguments they're making arguments to open old wounds. And there's nothing more dangerous than opening up an old wound, because the spirit of the ancestors might come out that boy. You dig too deep. You dig too deep, and Fred D coming out. You know what I'm saying? Like, because what is going on in this country is weird, because you're not supposed to know it. Like the frog in hot water, you're not supposed to know it. And I think with social media, there's been a saturation of knowledge without the ability to discern if it's good or not. Like, I'm not waiting for the public opinion to tell me I can be happy about something I was happy about. I'm happy because I know what it means to people to stand up for themselves despite anything having historical. And let me tell you this, man. There are people that are trying to make this a not black and white issue. They're trying to colorblind this thing.
Right.
It's about right and wrong. And I'm like, well, okay, bro, okay, all right. I see what you're doing. I see what you're trying to walk that fence. But I'm gonna need you to pick a side of that fence. You can go on my side or go to go to
yeah.
It's like get on my side or get over there. And I don't want you in the middle of the fence, because in times of chaos, fence sitters are just waiting to see which way the wind blows so they can jump on the right train.
Jump on the right side. Yeah. And you know, and John jumping, JY jumping here is that you know, I think that that is a, you know, and I brought this up, you know, in personal conversation with folk, that, you know, because America is a racist country, you know what I mean? And when folk like me say that, you know what I mean, people are like, oh, they clutch their pearls, you know what I mean? Like, no, like you saying, Doc, we live in a caste system, and because we live in a caste system, race is surrounds everything that we do. Race is connected to everything that we do, you know what I'm saying? And if you understand Alabama and the history of Alabama, and that in that city of Montgomery, they still fly the Confederate flag there. I'm just saying, you know what I'm saying? But you know, you know, and you know, it, like you're saying, Doc, this is a racial issue. So, you know, I think that as Americans, you know, we don't try to dismantle race. You know what I mean? We you know, black people, we're comfortable with having conversations about race. It's white people. They attack Robin DiAngelo, who's white, for trying to just to bring them just to the middle to have a conversation. She didn't even go that far. You know what I'm saying? Robin DeAngelo was like, look, hey, maybe we need to listen to folk. They attacked her for it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Go ahead, JY. And then
No. to kind of plug in what y'all talking about, it's just like the Confederate flags going down the highways in South Carolina. Well, it's a reason why you can see that 90-foot flag on the highway
North
as you're crossing into South Carolina and in certain places. Well, they want you to see. That's the Confederacy. They want you to see this ain't a land for you. And people got to understand when you're sitting here, trying to toe the line, you're trying to make this a both sides. You're trying everything to not deal with the real issue that the Heritage Foundation just released a plan for 2024 that they are going to spell out that they are going to create a dictator in the White House, and they are going to remove people from voting. So they're trying to literally take the underpinnings in the votes from the underpinning. And this will be ran by rich people. Well, who do you think in a caste system that's going to be affected?
Fascism, man, neo-fascism. Again,
Yeah.
a concept we just don't in the Black community. We need to embrace and talk more about fascism, oligarchs. We need to talk about all that, what that is. Yeah. Go ahead, Doc.
No, man, you made a really good point, man. I wanted to say that when I was here, I hear what you're saying. I thought to myself, like, I said, man, when are we going to learn? Like, because the window is changing. The window is how do I remove my white gaze? Like I don't think about, like, if I'm around people and I'm having a conversation about Black issues, right? When a white person comes up, I don't stop my conversation.
Yeah.
I don't stop. I'm not thinking like, oh man, I'm talking about Black issues. I'm gonna talk about them in front of you two. I'm not deterred by my audience because I understand that the truth. I'm not going to censor myself for your comfort.
Right.
I'm not going to do that anymore. But what I will do is this. I will say, if we talk to enough people, what we find out is that it's never let's use the KKK example, right? I think at its height, the KKK had about 4 million people across the U.S., maybe about 4, give or take, right? And you're thinking about, that's a lot of people in the Klan of the who were, I mean, they kept membership rolls and stuff, right? So if we were to extrapolate the data or the ratio of people that were in the Klan, adjust the population for inflation, and do a per capita number, how many people would that be? Now, we're not counting for their children or their people who hold those sentiments, or those are not counted. And I wanted to say something when you said this, man. Listen, America is not just a racist country. America is the template, America is the example for race. Like, countries look to America for tips to how to be racist. We are the paradigm of racism. We are, with the exception of England and Great Britain, only because they're our parents, only because of that reason, because they brought racism here.
Yeah.
And so we are actually, I would say, we inspired Hitler.
Hitler, yeah. He said that. Hitler said that.
Even Hitler said we went too far. Hitler said America went too far.
Too far, man. Yep.
Hitler said we went too far because one of the things to determine who was a Nazi, you had to have, at least your paternal grandparents had to be, Aryan, right? That wouldn't have worked in America because of slavery. It wouldn't have worked because we had a lot of Black people who could technically meet the criteria. And so South African apartheid was based off of Jim Crow. So not only are we racist, we are the exemplar. Like when I say we will be the Mount Rushmore of racism. You know what I mean? If that makes any sense. And I don't think people understand that, because if you get into the depth of how sick and sinister it is, then you will see that whether or not they control or not control the narrative, whether or not I view the world through a white gaze, because I would submit to you, if I'm going to be in a predominantly white space, it will be in my best interest to view the world through a white gaze. It would be. I'm in an environment where I'm not a minority, and I don't like that term anymore. There's there's 500 million about approximately white people in the world. There's 4.5 billion black people. We're not a minority of nothing.
We're not
a minority. I hate that term. No, you
man,
actually
I watched this film. It was this Bollywood film. And the main character was in there, and he was like, he was pointing to this white, the Europeans. He's like, we outnumber them. He's like, we outnumber them. The brown man's gonna take over, whatever.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And yeah, I mean, that's just the facts, man. It's just,
And this is where in Rhodesia, South Africa, Dr. Francis Quest Wilson talked about how they were able to take over South Africa at the time because they had the machine gun.
Yep.
It was
that's how they were able to take over Africa or Central.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, Doc, but part of the narrative, about slavery is that the reason that that they were able to capture so many Africans was because of the invention of the gun. Exactly. The gun and the cannon. They used to fire cannons into villages from boats. You know what I'm saying? And then once the handgun, part of the reason for making the creating the gun or creating the technology of the gun into what the French call a hand cannon, you know what I'm saying? Was so that they can go into places like Africa and take over, you know what I'm saying? Hand it to other Africans, and you know what I'm saying? We saw this in if you saw Woman King, it was shorter depiction of it. Yeah. There's a lot of
the homie.
The homies and
yeah.
The African dude was supposed to be a Berber, but but he had a gun, and that's how they took over. But you know what I'm saying. But it's just conversation or context that people need to understand.
Oh, and even with the West, in America, like it was the Buffalo Soldier who tamed the West in this country, and one of the as much as Black people have done for America, you'd think they'd be grateful. Like you would think like, well, in 1860, the GDP of this country, 80% of it came from slavery. 80% of the gross domestic product came from enslaved labor or products they made. Right now, I'm thinking, and then we won these wars for y'all. We went up San Juan Hill with y'all. We literally cleared the Indians out of the West for y'all. And it's like, damn, can we not be lynched? Fuck.
The Philippines, the Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, like Vietnam.
I think it's frustrating. Like, and this is why I like Baldwin, because he said, he had an angst when he wrote about the country. I think he was conflicted because he cared about the place because his family was here. But I think that he said, I couldn't write here. I had to go to France because you can't concentrate in this place. You can't concentrate here. And I know what he means by concentrate, because next week there's a new fire. We're talking about the Montgomery Brawl now. Next week there's going to be the Empire Strikes Back. And it's going to be the Return of the Jedi. Then we're going to go to episode 1, and then it's going to just
and we're always something.
And we're trying to break a cycle. And I think that it is a very constructive use of our time to explain second and third order effects, because this was not an isolated incident.
No.
This was a wake up call on one side of people who felt empowered to assault someone who was doing their job, and it conflicted. Now take that philosophy and then add it to policing, and then you see if regular civilians could use the same legal standing that the police use to get off on murder, we'd have problems in this country. Because I don't know what you perceived it to be. I don't know what your perception of the situation is, but I will tell you, I'm going to pick a side. And to be silent, you see, people think if they don't say nothing, they don't pick a side. That's a lie. Because because in times of injustice, silence only helps the oppressor.
Yeah.
It only helps them. So you may say, I'm neutral, I'm Switzerland, but guess what? Switzerland got all your money in their bank, though. But they neutral.
Mm-hmm.
You can't be neutral if you holding their stuff. And so what I think about is we're talking about this issue of appropriate behavior. And in most instances, what is appropriate behavior for us has never involved violence. It involves turning the other cheek, praying to God that he would get justice for you, which is silly because that's not what they do.
They go get the gun. Hey, they go get the guns and they take over. No, it's January 6th.
And there is nothing more powerful than when you think that you are behaving or acting on behalf of a deity. It will remove any moral qualms of you doing genocide because God commands it. God demands it. God did it. God did, and so this has never been an option for us because we were raised by our captors.
Right.
We were fed by our captors. We were indoctrinated by our enemy and didn't know why we hated each other. This isn't hard. This isn't hard. People who hated you taught you. And
for I'm sorry, Doc, but for correlation, we're seeing this in Florida, right?
Yep.
There was a video, I should pull it up, but a PragerU video talking about Frederick Douglass.
Yeah.
Oh Lord, have mercy! I mean,
They're
they just,
horrible.
yeah, man, they
you
just.
See Candace Owens video?
What's that?
You see Candace Owens video on slavery?
Oh Lord, no.
Yeah.
Oh man, what did she say?
Oh,
Oh, bro.
I only listened to it to see how ignorant it was.
It
was painful though, because I think you always have to hear the opposing opinions of people so that you can have an argument. But I'm going to cut you off.
Yeah, no, it's all good, bro. I think that's yeah, man. I think that what you're talking about is what's happening in Florida, man. It is the indoctrination. You know what I'm saying? The trying to indoctrinate youth to give them misinformation, not tell them truths. You know what I'm saying? And so that they will never protest the government because or not just the government, but you will never protest the oppressors of your government, never protest your corporations, right? This is how we get the weekends. This is how we get the New Deal, because people protest capitalism, right? You are not going to get folks to protest that. You know what I'm saying? So you got to teach them an alternate history. 1984. If people haven't read that book, man, go read it. You know what I'm saying? Or go listen to it on YouTube. It's great. But 1984, you raise a people so they do not question the system. You know what I'm saying? Go ahead, bro.
No, I was going to say, what you bringing up is if you go into Trump's case, he was going to turn the military loose on protesters.
Yes.
During the election.
He was.
And again, I'm going to tie it back to the Heritage 2024 plan. Okay, they want to make protesting illegal. So again, what in this conversation, what we're expressing is people have to understand what the people of power is trying to do with people beneath them or who they believe beneath them, and you have to miseducate them first to be able to misuse the power to control them.
And he said, I can't believe what you say because I see what you do.
I see what you do.
And I think that's that's that quote from Baldwin that I like. He said, look, I don't know if the real estate lobbyists hate me. I know I'm not in there. You know what I'm saying? Like he goes on and say, look, all I know is I'm not being included. I know the books y'all give my kids to read. I understand that we have an opportunity, which I think is very powerful, is that in this moment of silence from the detractors, it's organization. It's like, okay, we now understand there's a capability in us But what we see happening is the exploitation of the capability when it's not used correctly.
Mhm.
Because I don't like when people try to move the goalposts in an argument with me. I don't like that.
Yeah.
This is what we're talking about. Like stay here. We're here right now. When you can go over there in a second, but we're here right now. We're talking about this because you know how some people, I think we're in a generation where and this is a pitfall that I find myself in. People who are trying to find solutions tend to be skeptical about things because they are questioning if this is the right path. So people who are qualified will debate with themselves because they want to make sure this makes sense. This is the best product. They want to make sure that if we're doing something, it's going to make sense. Whereas people with power don't care about that because that's not how you get power. You get power by being decisive, by taking action, right or wrong, just make a decision, right? And what we're seeing is that we don't have that luxury anymore. We don't have the luxury of sitting around getting beat on anymore. We don't have that anymore. Those days are over. That's yesterday. And I hope, my hope is that violent white people who have malice in their heart will see that video and say, I don't want this. I need to behave myself in a better way because I might get my ass whooped. I think if we have a takeaway, like what's positive from this, or what can we take away from this, is that the white folk who have that hate in their heart that has never went anywhere, that's still there, would look at that and say, "Man, you know what? We should have just went about our business because we don't want that smoke.
Moved the boat
because we don't want that smoke."
That white chair at a wedding.
I like to say
reminder.
Hey, that captain threw that jaw up, that hat up. Yeah, he threw that hat up like Bobby Shmurda. I was like Lion-O. That bug threw that hat up like Lion-O.
I hope he got his hat back too, man. I ain't seen it. Because hey, they went back there and they saw this, and I said, man, it's so interesting. Like if we take what happened now and go back 50 years, they could have been hung for that. They could have been lynched. They could have been killed. I mean, and so when we look at, we are measuring progress by how little we will tolerate now. Like as a metric system, like I'm not going to tolerate no disrespect. I came at you as a nice man. I came at you respectfully. I asked you to do something, and now you are going to. It's out of my hands now. And we've seen these cases where black people could have sued, like that bird watcher guy. Remember? The bird watcher part? And he said, I don't want to sue her because you know. And I'm like, bro. She would sue you in a heart attack.
She would sue you in a heartbeat, man.
Heart attack, bro.
Heartbeat.
But this is inappropriate behavior.
Yeah.
Because if we don't use the systems of redress to get our grievances talked about, we won't not. Audre Lorde said, if you're quiet about your suffering, they will tell the world that you liked it. And I'm like, those days of not speaking are over. And I think that's the power of social media for the good anyway. One of the powers of social media is that we can rapidly disseminate information and we can form a consensus on what is the path ahead by what is constructive or destructive. And I look at that and I say that were they being constructive? I say yes. I saw construction. But now would have been destructive if now, like I said, once somebody's on the ground and they're done, okay, bro, you ain't got to stumble out to the white meat. That's that's logical. You know what I'm saying? We only using the minimum amount of force necessary to carry out our assigned duties. You know what I'm saying? I speak legalese. Because when you talk about self-defense, it's only self-defense until the threat has been removed. Once the threat has removed, and then we could also make an argument that I didn't know the threat was over. If you went and called somebody,
if you called somebody, I don't know
I don't know if people going to that boat was going to get a gun from that boat. So that's why I followed you there to beat you, so you can't come next to me and shoot me. And I think when it comes to
reportedly, that was the original threat. Was the N-word, and one of the gentlemen said he's going to get his gun and shoot the captain.
The captain,
Yeah.
co-captain. Yeah,
Um,
yeah. Mhm.
so that's where you start seeing him in the video kind of get a little more animated.
Okay.
They
Mm,
were explaining. Um,
mm,
so yeah.
I heard an initial report about that. My thing is I usually wait for multiple sources on racial stuff because when it
mhm,
comes to racial issues, there is definitely um a counter narrative that is usually put forth to, I don't want to say critique, because I don't like that word in real life
mhm.
situations. I think that I don't want to critique anything because at the moment, because I think that because of the adrenaline is rushing, because of
Mhm.
what's happening, because of the history, because of the pent up
Yeah.
aggression and violence, I think that they were very restrained. Personally,
Mhm.
Mhm.
I think they were very restrained. I mean,
Mhm.
but once again, I say that because I know what they've done to us for far less.
Right.
Yeah.
That's
I
true,
know
man.
what they've done to us for far less.
Yeah.
They used to put our bodies on barbecue spits and turn us around and cook
Mhm.
us
Yeah. Put
alive.
Mhm.
put
So
hot tar and feather.
yeah, so
Mhm.
Where
getting
do
hit
you
with a
think
chair
that
to
come from?
me, getting hit with a chair to me is like, oh, I didn't take that L.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah,
and
yeah.
like I said, I don't wish ill will on nobody. I hope that the people who are injured were speedily recovered. And more importantly, I think that when it comes to messaging,
Mm.
because there are really no black spokesmen in America. I mean, you got a few people like Ben Crump, but we got a few
Mhm.
people, but there really isn't any spokesmen on black issues in
Mhm.
this country.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
and I think it's a gift and a curse because what we've done is we said, hey, look, you guys don't follow the rules that we follow, and we get that. But we are
Mhm.
going to draw a line in the sand when it comes to protecting each other.
Mhm.
And this one, if you cross it, game on.
Mm. Yeah, man. Yeah,
Wow.
well, we had the 2 hour mark, man. I know we can go on. We can go on
Yeah.
all night, man. Pretty, a lot of gems to pick out of it, man. So we gonna go ahead and wrap this up, man. Go ahead, bro. First off, I want to say
Yeah.
thank you, Dr. Ham.
Yes.
Thank you, brother Hearn,
Thank
for
you.
coming in last minute, man.
Yeah.
We planned this. Of course, Dr. Ham and brother Johnson and I forget, I can't remember the other individual.
Oh,
Set the
dope
stage on
show.
fire. Yeah, on OA, man. So it's always great to have Dr. Ham, man. It's
Yeah.
always great, man. You most definitely should have a bigger platform. Calling the Carrying Hunter. So,
Yeah.
I like
Yeah.
yeah,
it.
Yeah.
I
yeah,
like Carrie, man.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Hey,
yeah,
Carrie, funny too, because she
yeah.
tell you about yourself. She'll
Yeah,
tell you
she
about
will,
yourself.
man.
But no,
Oh
you good,
man.
man. Hey, appreciate for the invite, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. As always. Go ahead. Last words, bro.
No, man. I want to say, man. Man, these stories. Let let's build on this, and it's not about the violence, right?
Mhm,
It's about understanding when our fellow person is looking for help, needing help. Um, and this crosses the color line as well. You know what I'm saying? Like at the end of the day, no human should be assaulted and violated in that manner when you're just trying to go about your daily task, man.
mhm,
And if we got to start home, amongst the black community, all right, let's unity, and if other groups want to come in and join, man, look, let's keep it like that, and let's keep on going forward. Let's focus then on policy and so forth, man.
yeah. Good work, man. My last word on this is that, man, I think that imagery is powerful, you know what I'm saying? Imagery is very powerful. And much like Jason Aldean, who showed us imagery, don't try this in a small town, showing the imagery that he showed, and it vaulted his song that was outside of the top 10 into number one. You know what I'm saying? I think this imagery of black people coming together saying that, hey man, look, we're tired of this stuff.
Yeah.
We are absolutely tired. If y'all thought we weren't tired during Colin Kaepernick, look, man, we're telling you we are tired. Okay. So you either gonna listen or you're gonna catch these hands or you're gonna catch the chair. You know what I'm saying? You go catch a patio chair, you know what I'm saying? And so, I think that, my thing is that, I do not condone violence, but at the same time, there's always a reason to slap somebody. You know what I mean? Will Smith. Shout out Will Smith. There's always a reason to slap somebody, man. But yeah, man. But Dr. Ham, man, I'm gonna give you last word, bro.
Oh, we appreciate it, man. So
yeah,
I don't like to cherry pick data
mm-hmm.
to make my point, because I feel like there's enough information. During the Black Lives Matter protest that was going on, there was this white cop that got isolated and was being beaten up on. And this group of black men came to his defense. Pretty much used to get the cops to jump, and they came to his defense to protect him. Because nobody should be like, fights should be one-on-one. Let's just be clear. As a rule of thumb, fights should be one-on-one. When the fight stops becoming one-on-one, we're dealing with gang violence. I mean, because I like the idea that, you know, if I, as a black man, saw a white man getting jumped by a bunch of people, black or white, that I would do something about it. That I wouldn't just sit by and be like, oh, that's the wrong thing. Without the historical context. And historically, we've always been the ones that took the high road. We've always been the one who went without so that others can have. And those days are over. This is a new day. And more importantly, it's a new Negro. I ain't like you have old Negroes and the new ones. And the new ones don't take shit. They're like, nah, bro, yesterday. And but by keeping solidarity with our older black generation, because, you know, when you don't think that the people who came before you have anything to teach you, you've made an error. Made an error. And whether or not you listen and heed them, they have knowledge.
Yeah.
And whether or not it's successful, but I think that when it comes to us as a community, I take solidarity before unity. And more importantly, I think that when it comes to us, we're definitely waking up something. Like the term woke, you know, it's like summoning the idea. If you keep saying woke, people will start want to know what it is. And they're finding out being woke is what those guys did. They were woke.
Yeah.
And woke people want justice.
Yeah.
That's it, man.
Yep.
That's it, man. As always, man. Appreciate everybody that tuned in, man. Everybody that's going to tune in. You know, look for this in podcast form. You know, we appreciate y'all, and we'll see y'all again, man, on this Yah'm Saying podcast. We out.
Yeah.